The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council stretched 50 stories high. Its crystal walls sparkled with light from 1,000 stars. Beings from across the galaxy filled every seat. Some floated. Some had tentacles. Others looked like walking trees or clouds of light. In the center of it all, a round table made of pure crystal held the fate of humanity. Ambassador Frank Morrison sat very still. His blue suit looked simple next to the flowing robes and glowing armor of other species. His brown hair, now touched with gray, was neatly combed. His hands rested flat on the table, not moving even when his heart raced. Beside him, Lisa Bennett sorted through papers with careful movements. Her job as his assistant meant keeping track of every word, every promise, every lie told in this room. She had done this for 5 years now. Today felt different. Wrong. Across the table, Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire stood tall on 6 insect-like legs. His body was covered in green armor that looked like shells. His head had many eyes that could see in all directions. When he spoke, his mouthparts clicked and buzzed. A translator turned these sounds into words everyone could understand. "The human request is denied," Vextar said. His many eyes looked at Frank without blinking. "This is the 7th time you ask for equal status. The answer remains no." Frank took a deep breath. He had trained for moments like this. Stay calm. Show no anger. Remember that humans were new here, while some of these species had traveled the stars for thousands of years. "Ambassador Vextar," Frank began, his voice steady. "Humanity has been part of the Galactic Council for 40 years. We have followed every rule. We have shared our resources. We have helped other species when asked. Why do you still see us as children?" Vextar's wings buzzed. It was their way of laughing at someone. "Because you are children. Your species discovered space travel only 200 years ago. My people have ruled star systems for 10,000 years. You still fight among yourselves on your home planet. You build weapons that could destroy worlds. You are dangerous toddlers playing with fire." Lisa's hand tightened on her pen. Frank touched her arm gently. A warning to stay quiet. Around the great table, other species watched. Some nodded agreement with Vextar. Others looked away, uncomfortable but not willing to speak up for humanity. "We have changed," Frank said. "We learned from our mistakes. The wars you speak of ended before we joined the galaxy. We chose peace." "You chose to hide," Vextar clicked. "You show us old ships and outdated weapons. You pretend to be harmless. But we know what humans are capable of. We have studied your history, nuclear weapons, biological warfare. You poisoned your own air and water. What would you do to species you see as enemies?" Frank stood up slowly. At 6 feet tall, he was still much shorter than Vextar. But something in his stance made several aliens step back. "We are not your enemy," Frank said. "We have never been your enemy. All we ask is to be treated as equals, to have a voice in decisions that affect us, to trade freely, to explore the stars without needing permission like children asking to leave the house. And if we refuse..." Vextar's wings spread wide, a threat display. "What will you do, little human? Throw one of your famous tantrums? Shall we fear your primitive weapons and tiny ships?" The room went very quiet. Even the floating ethereals stopped their constant humming. Frank looked at Lisa. She gave the smallest nod. They had prepared for this moment, hoped it would never come. Frank touched his ear once. A tiny device hidden there sent a signal across the galaxy to Admiral John Harper. One touch, 3 seconds. The message was simple. "Diplomatic solutions have failed." "No," Frank said quietly. "We will pack up our proposals. We will leave this chamber, and we will stop asking for what should be freely given." He began gathering his papers. Lisa helped, her movements quick and efficient. Around them, aliens whispered in 100 languages. Some seemed pleased, others worried. As Frank reached the door, Vextar called out, "Run home, little humans. Hide on your single planet. The galaxy has no place for violent children. Frank stopped at the door, but did not turn around. When he spoke, his voice carried to every corner of the vast chamber. We'll see about that. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Luna Base stretched for miles in every direction. The public knew it as a research station. The truth was very different. General Amy Rodriguez walked through steel corridors that hummed with hidden power. Her boots clicked on metal floors polished to mirror brightness. She had commanded this secret base for 10 years, waiting for a day she hoped would never come. That day was today. The signal from Ambassador Morrison had arrived 3 minutes ago. 1 touch, 3 seconds. The meaning was clear. Peace had failed. Amy entered the command center. Dozens of screens covered the walls. Officers in black uniforms worked at stations arranged in perfect rows. They all stood when she entered. As you were, Amy said. Her voice was calm, but everyone could feel the weight of the moment. Paul Martinez, her tactical officer, approached with a tablet. General, all department heads are assembled in the briefing room. The Prometheus protocol is ready for your authorization. Amy nodded. She had trained these people herself. Each one had been selected from the best humanity could offer, not just for their skills, but for their ability to keep secrets that could change the galaxy. The briefing room held 20 chairs around an oval table. Every seat was filled. Amy recognized each face. Susan Park from Intelligence, Captain Coleman from the Ghost Fleet, Dr. Chen from the Weapons Research Division, others who had spent years preparing for this moment. Amy stood at the head of the table. On the wall behind her, a display showed Earth floating in space. Beautiful, peaceful, vulnerable. Ladies and gentlemen, Amy began. 40 years ago, humanity entered the galactic community with hope. We showed them our art, our music, our dreams of exploring the stars together. We asked for friendship. We asked for equality. We asked for respect. She paused, looking at each face around the table. Today, that request was denied for the final time. Susan Park leaned forward. The Zephyrians. Leading the opposition. As always, Amy confirmed. They see us as violent children who need to be controlled. They mock our technology. They laugh at our ships. They think we are weak because we choose diplomacy over force. Paul Martinez smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. They have no idea what we've built here. No, Amy agreed. They don't. For 40 years, we've shown them what they expected to see. Old ships, outdated weapons, scattered colonies barely managing to survive. Meanwhile, we've been busy. She touched the table. The display behind her changed. Where Earth had been, now a map of the galaxy appeared. Hundreds of red dots marked locations across human space and beyond. Every red mark is a hidden facility. Shipyards, weapon platforms, research stations, supply depots. We have spent 4 decades preparing for the day when words would not be enough. Captain Jack Coleman spoke up. My Ghost Fleet has been running silent drills for 10 years. 12 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, 200 attack craft. All using technology the galaxy doesn't know we have. Dr. Kevin Chen added, the quantum weapons are tested and ready. The singularity mines are in position along key hyperlanes. Our cyber warfare division has backdoors in every major galactic network. Amy felt the weight of what came next. These were good people. They had families. They had spent their lives hoping these preparations would never be used. The Cerberus contingency goes active in 1 hour, Amy announced. All merchant vessels will return to protected space. All colony defenses will activate. All diplomatic staff will evacuate from alien worlds. She looked around the room one more time. For 40 years, we've played nice. We've shown restraint. We've turned the other cheek when insulted. We've smiled when laughed at. We've bowed when pushed aside. That ends today. Susan Park raised her hand. What are our rules of engagement? Amy's expression hardened. Show them why humans were apex predators on Earth. Show them why we needed strict laws to control our weapons. Show them why we chose peace not from weakness, but from wisdom." The room was silent for a moment. "But remember," Annie continued, "we are not monsters. We target military assets only. We protect civilian lives. We offer surrender terms. We show them that human warfare is an art form, precise and calculated, not the brutal chaos they expect." Around the table, heads nodded. These people understood. They had studied every conflict in human history. They knew what their species was capable of when pushed too far. Amy straightened. "In 1 hour, the galaxy learns a lesson. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never confuse restraint with inability. Never corner a species that survived its own worst nature." She gave one final order. "Send the message. Implement Cerberus contingency. Show them who we really are." Captain Jack Coleman stood on the bridge of the UNS Retribution. The ship floated in empty space, invisible to any scanner the galaxy knew about. Around him, his crew worked in perfect silence. They had trained for this moment for years. The Retribution was not like the old cargo ships humanity showed to alien visitors. This was a true warship, built in secret with technology that would make galactic scientists weep. Its hull bent light around itself. Its weapons used physics that humanity had discovered but never shared. "Captain," said Maria Sanchez from her tactical station, "Zephyrian patrol fleet detected. 12 ships, standard formation. Distance, 3 light minutes." Jack studied the display. The enemy ships looked like giant wasps made of metal and crystal. Each one was bigger than any human vessel the galaxy had seen. The Zephyrians built them to scare other species. They worked well for that purpose. "Ghost protocol status?" Jack asked. "Full stealth active, sir." "They can't see us. We're just empty space to their sensors." Jack nodded. This would be humanity's first real space battle. Not a drill. Not a simulation. Real weapons, real consequences. He felt the responsibility like a weight on his shoulders. "Commander Yang, what's their course?" The navigation officer checked his screens. "They're heading for the Proxima colony, sir. Standard intimidation run. They do this every month to remind humans who's in charge." Jack had watched these patrols for years. The Zephyrians would fly close to human colonies. They would scan defenses. They would mock the old patrol boats Earth stationed there. Then they would leave, laughing at human weakness. Not today. "Maria, target lock on all 12 ships. Use quantum torpedoes. I want simultaneous impact." Her fingers danced across her controls. Targets acquired. Solutions calculated. Weapons ready. Jack took a deep breath. Once he gave this order, everything changed. Humanity would step out of the shadows. The peaceful mask would fall away. Fire. 12 torpedoes launched in perfect silence. They were small, no bigger than a basketball. Each one contained a warhead that twisted space itself. The Zephyrian shields were designed for laser fire and plasma bolts. They had no defense against weapons that ignored the laws of physics. The bridge crew watched their screens. The torpedoes traveled through folded space, appearing inside the enemy shields. 12 flashes lit up the darkness. When the light faded, only debris remained. "All targets destroyed," Maria reported. Her voice was steady, professional. But Jack saw her hands shake slightly. First blood was never easy. "Time to detection?" Jack asked. The energy burst was contained. No distress signal sent. The Zephyrian Empire won't notice they're missing for at least 3 days. Jack activated the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We've just fired humanity's first shots in this war. You performed perfectly. But remember, we're not murderers. We're teachers. We're showing the galaxy a lesson they forced us to teach." He switched to a secure channel that connected to all human Ghost Fleet ships. "All vessels, this is Retribution. Operation Phantom Strike is active. Execute your assigned targets. Remember the rules. Military targets only. No civilian casualties. If they surrender, accept it. We're not barbarians. We're professionals. Across human space and beyond, hidden warships powered up weapons. Intelligence officers activated computer viruses years in the making. Special forces teams prepared to strike at supply depots and communication relays. The galaxy was about to learn what humans had been doing for 40 years while pretending to be harmless. Back on Luna Base, General Rodriguez watched the tactical displays. Green lights showed successful strikes across the board. In 3 days, the Zephyrian Empire would wake up to find their proud fleet reduced by half. Their supply lines would be cut. Their communications would fail, and they wouldn't know how it happened. Paul Martinez stood beside her. It started. No going back now. Amy nodded. They wanted to see human warfare. They thought we were too young, too primitive. They're about to learn that we didn't survive on Earth by being nice. We survived by being smart, by being patient, by being absolutely terrifying when we needed to be. On the screen, more green lights appeared. The ghost fleet was hunting. The prey had no idea they were being stalked. God help us all, Amy whispered. But she didn't stop the operation. The time for prayer had passed. The time for action had come. In space, the retribution moved to its next target. Silent, invisible, deadly. The galaxy's newest predator had shown its teeth. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. 3 days had passed since Ambassador Morrison walked out. 3 days since the Zephyrian patrol fleet vanished without a trace. Now, every species wanted answers. Speaker Thyron of the ethereal race floated above the crystal platform. His body looked like living starlight, constantly shifting and glowing. The ethereals were the oldest race in the galaxy. When they called emergency meetings, everyone came. Order. Thyron's voice rang out like wind chimes. We gather to address the disappearance of 12 Zephyrian warships. Ambassador Vextar claims human involvement. Vextar stood in his designated space, his green shell armor reflecting the chamber's lights. But something was different. His usual proud stance seemed smaller. His many eyes darted around the room. The humans must answer for this attack. Vextar clicked. Our ships vanished in human space. No debris. No distress calls. This is clearly their doing. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Kranathi warriors growled in their section. The Crystalline Prism Collective hummed with concern. Everyone turned to look at the empty human seat. Then the main display activated. Ambassador Morrison's face appeared, but he looked different. Gone was the diplomatic smile. His eyes held something that made several species step back from the screen. Esteemed colleagues, Morrison began. I address you from Earth to answer your questions. Yes, the Zephyrian fleet is gone. They entered our space uninvited, as they have done for years. This time, they didn't leave. Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one had expected humans to admit responsibility so openly. For 40 years, Morrison continued, humanity has begged for respect. We've shown you our art, our music, our dreams. You laughed. You called us children. You sent warships to intimidate our colonies. Behind Morrison, the display changed. Images appeared that no alien had seen before. Human cities destroyed by atomic fire. Mass graves. Chemical weapons victims. Wars so terrible that Earth itself had banned the weapons used. This is our true history, Morrison said. We learned the cost of uncontrolled aggression. We chose peace not because we're weak, but because we know what we're capable of. You forced us to remember. The chamber fell completely silent. Even Vextar's clicking stopped. More images appeared. Secret shipyards building vessels that defied galactic understanding. Weapons that bent reality itself. Soldiers training in conditions that would kill most species. While you mocked our old ships, we built new ones. While you laughed at our proposals, we studied your weaknesses. While you called us children, we prepared for the day you pushed too far. Thyron's glow flickered with alarm. "Ambassador Morrison, are you threatening the Galactic Council?" "No," Morrison replied. "We're educating you. The Zephyrian fleet wasn't destroyed in battle. There was no battle. Our ships appeared, fired, and vanished before your sensors could register them. Your shields, designed for plasma and lasers, meant nothing against quantum weapons." The display changed again. A map of the galaxy appeared with thousands of red points. Every red mark is a human asset you didn't know existed. Ghost fleets, hidden bases, quantum mines already placed in your hyperlanes. We've spent 40 years preparing while pretending to be harmless. Vextar finally found his voice. "This is a declaration of war." "No," Morrison's voice turned cold. "War implies both sides can fight. What's coming is a lesson. You will learn why humans embrace peace. You will understand why we fear our own nature. You will discover why Earth needed laws against weapons that could crack planets." The human ambassador leaned forward, his face filling the screen. "But we're not monsters. Military targets only. Any ship that surrenders will be spared. Any species that wants peace will have it. We don't want your worlds. We don't want your resources. We want respect." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You called us violent children. You were half right. We were violent. But we grew up. We learned control. We chose restraint. You forced us to show you why that choice matters." The display went dark. The chamber exploded with voices. Fear, anger, disbelief mixed in a dozen languages. Fyron restored order with difficulty. "The humans have revealed their true nature. What do we do now?" For the first time in galactic history, no one had an answer. The children they had mocked had just revealed themselves as sleeping giants, and humanity had made it clear the giants were now awake. The next 6 months changed the galaxy forever. What had started as disbelief turned to fear, then to terror as humanity showed what they could do when pushed too far. Commander Lisa Bennett stood in the war room of the UNS Thunderstrike, studying tactical displays. She wasn't a diplomat's assistant anymore. When the masks came off, humanity needed every trained officer. Her 5 years watching aliens had taught her things that were now saving human lives. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Danny Park, "Zephyrian supply convoy detected. 40 cargo ships. Minimal escort." Lisa studied the screen. In old wars, armies destroyed supply ships. Humans had learned better methods. "Deploy the nano-disruptors. Target their engine cores only. I want those ships dead in space but intact." "Understood, Ma'am." The attack took 13 seconds. 40 Zephyrian cargo vessels suddenly stopped moving. Their engines were dead, eaten from the inside by machines too small to see. Their crews were alive but helpless, floating in space with months of food that would never reach its destination. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human fleets appeared from nowhere, struck with surgical precision, then vanished. They didn't capture territory. They didn't destroy cities. They just made war impossible for their enemies. On the Zephyrian homeworld, confusion turned to panic. Supply lines failed. Communications went dark. Military bases found their weapons mysteriously broken. Their proud fleet of thousands had been reduced to hundreds, and they didn't understand how. Governor Rex Marr of the Border Worlds sent a message to his emperor. "They don't fight like any species we know. When we gather our fleets, they vanish. When we spread out to hunt them, they pick us apart. Our shields don't work. Our weapons can't target them. It's like fighting ghosts with gravity hammers." But technology wasn't the only human weapon. Dr. Kevin Chen sat in his office on Luna Base, watching dozens of screens. Each one showed different alien news broadcasts. "Psychological warfare phase 3 is working perfectly," he told General Rodriguez. "The Zephyrians are starting to question their leadership. The other aggressive species are having second thoughts about confrontation." Amy nodded. "Because we're not acting like conquerors. We're acting like teachers delivering a very painful lesson." On screen, a Kranathi news anchor spoke to his warrior audience. The humans returned damaged ships to neutral ports. They broadcast medical aid frequencies to damaged vessels. They accept surrenders immediately. This is not the behavior of bloodthirsty primitives. Kevin smiled grimly. We're breaking their narrative. They told themselves we were violent children who needed control. But violent children don't show mercy. They don't use measured responses. They don't help enemy wounded. And that terrifies them more than brutality would, Amy added. In the depths of space, Captain Jack Coleman received a surrender signal from a Zephyrian battlecruiser. It was the 5th this week. Sir, Maria Sanchez reported. The Zephyrian captain wants to discuss terms. Put him through. The screen showed a tired-looking Zephyrian. His shell was dull. His eyes moved slowly. Human captain, he clicked wearily. I surrender my ship and crew. We cannot fight what we cannot see, cannot defend against weapons we don't understand. Jack nodded. Your surrender is accepted, Captain. Power down weapons. We'll escort you to neutral space. Your crew will be treated well and returned home after the conflict. The Zephyrian's eyes widened. You will let us go, not take us as prisoners. We don't want prisoners. We want peace. Tell your leadership that. As the Zephyrian ship was escorted away, Maria shook her head. They still don't understand. They think mercy is weakness. No, Jack corrected. They're starting to understand that our mercy is a choice. That we could destroy them completely but choose not to. That's what terrifies them. We're not the monsters they expected. We're something much more dangerous. What's that, sir? Jack watched the stars through the view screen. We're a species that learned to chain its own demons. Now they're learning why those chains were necessary. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Humans weren't conquering. They weren't destroying. They were systematically dismantling the ability of aggressive species to wage war while showing extraordinary restraint. It was warfare as art, warfare as education, warfare as a terrible responsibility taken up reluctantly but executed flawlessly. The galaxy watched and learned. The violent children had been a mask. Underneath was something far more frightening, a species that understood destruction so well they had learned to avoid it, until someone made that impossible. The Zephyrian Empire that had stood for 10,000 years crumbled in just 6 months, not through massive battles or planetary bombardments, but through humanity's surgical strikes that left the empire unable to function. Emperor Zexable sat in his throne room, once filled with tribute from 100 conquered worlds. Now it felt empty. His advisors had fled. His generals sent reports of defeats they couldn't explain. His people questioned his rule for the first time in centuries. His aide, Raxtor, entered with another dire report. Supreme One, the humans have disabled the hyperlane to the core worlds. Our fleets are trapped in their sectors. Food shipments cannot reach the inner systems. Zexfol's antennae drooped. How do they do this? Our scientists say their technology is impossible. Our spies find no trace of their bases. Our psychics sense no aggression from them, only disappointment. They fight like no enemy we've faced, Raxtor admitted. When the Saurians rebelled, we crushed their worlds. When the Void Pirates raided, we hunted them down. But humans, they take apart our ability to fight without destroying anything we can rebuild. A communication request blinked on the Emperor's console. The signature was human. Should I reject it, Supreme One? No. Zexfol's voice sounded tired. Let me speak to these teachers. The screen showed Admiral John Harper, the human officer who had watched silently during that final council meeting. His weathered face was calm, showing neither anger nor satisfaction. Emperor Zexfol, Harper said simply, I believe it's time we talked. Have you come to demand our surrender, human? No, I've come to offer you peace. Zexfol's wings buzzed in confusion. Peace. After destroying our fleet, after crippling our empire. Harper leaned forward slightly. We destroyed nothing that cannot be rebuilt. We killed only those who gave us no choice. Your empire isn't crippled. It's being taught a lesson. There's a difference. What lesson? Zexful asked, his pride finally breaking. What are you trying to teach us? That strength comes in many forms, Harper replied. For 10,000 years, you've ruled through military might. You've mistaken other species' desire for peace as weakness. You've confused our restraint with inability. The Admiral touched something off-screen. The display split, showing images of human history alongside recent battle footage. We learned this lesson the hard way. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Nuclear winter, biological plagues, wars that killed millions. We had to learn control, or we would have no world left. Zexful watched human ghost ships appear and vanish, saw precision strikes that disabled but didn't destroy, witnessed mercy shown to surrendered enemies. You're not weaklings pretending to be strong, the Emperor said slowly. You're titans pretending to be weak. Harper almost smiled. We're a species that chose peace because we understood war too well. You forced us to show you why. What do you want from us? Change, Harper said simply. Stop treating other species as inferiors. Stop your intimidation flights. Respect sovereignty. Trade fairly. Treat others as equals. And if we refuse? Harper's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes made Zexful shiver. Then the lesson continues. Your hyperlanes stay mined. Your military stays crippled. Your empire slowly transforms or slowly dies. The choice is yours. Zexful looked around his empty throne room. His empire was already changing. Moderate voices, silent for millennia, now spoke openly. Colony worlds were declaring independence. The military begged for peace terms. I need to discuss this with my council, Zexful said. You have 1 week, Harper replied. Choose wisely. We don't want to destroy you. We want you to grow. But growth sometimes requires painful lessons. The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, other aggressive species watched the Zephyrian empires fall. The Cranathi warriors, who had boasted they could crush humanity in days, quietly recalled their fleets. The void touched mysterious beings who had never shown fear, sent diplomats to Earth for the first time. In the Galactic Council, Speaker Thyron addressed the assembled species. The humans have shown us something we didn't want to see. They mirror our own actions back at us. They use our own methods against us. They teach through example. Ambassador Vextar, now representing a humbled Zephyrian government, spoke for the first time in weeks. We thought humans were too young to understand galactic politics. We were wrong. They understand it better than us. They just chose a different path. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The students had become the teachers. The children had revealed themselves as adults who remembered their violent youth. The war ended as suddenly as it began. One morning, human ghost fleets simply vanished back into the darkness. Quantum mines deactivated. Hyperlanes reopened. The galaxy woke up to find the storm had passed. Ambassador Nancy Williams entered the Galactic Council chamber for the first time. Unlike Frank Morrison's formal suits, she wore a simple gray dress. She was young, barely 30, with short black hair and gentle brown eyes. No one would guess she had commanded destroyer squadrons during the conflict. The chamber was different now. Beings who once strutted with arrogance sat quietly. Species that had mocked humanity now watched her every move. The Zephyrian section was filled with new faces, moderates who had signed comprehensive peace treaties. Nancy took her seat at the table where Frank Morrison had made his final stand. She placed a small plant from Earth in front of her, an olive branch. Speaker Thyron floated down to address her. His ethereal form pulsed with curiosity. Ambassador Williams, we welcome humanity back to these chambers. Though we wonder, why send someone so young to represent your species? Nancy smiled softly. Because I represent humanity's future, not our past. I wasn't alive for our ancient wars. I was born into a world that chose peace. I can speak of hope without the weight of old anger. Vextar, or rather the new Zephyrian ambassador who had taken that name, clicked nervously. Humans have shown great power. Will you use it to rule us? Nancy shook her head. We don't want to rule anyone. We never did. All we wanted was respect, equality, the right to explore the stars without being treated like dangerous children. She stood, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. My government has instructed me to make several things clear. First, human military forces are returning to defensive positions. We will not occupy any world. We will not claim any territory. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the assembly. Second, Nancy continued, we offer full trade agreements to any species that wants them. Our technology, our resources, our knowledge, available to those who deal with us as equals. The Kranathi ambassador growled a question. And your weapons? The ghost ships? The quantum torpedoes? Nancy's expression grew serious. They returned to the shadows. We hope they never emerge again. But make no mistake, they remain. Not as a threat, but as a guarantee. Attack us, and you face our warriors. Trade with us fairly, and you'll know only our merchants and explorers. She sat back down and pulled up a holographic display. Which brings me to our proposal. A new charter for the Galactic Council. One based on equality, not on age or military power. One where every species has a voice. The document appeared above the council table. Security guarantees. Trade frameworks. Dispute resolution. Everything humanity had asked for originally, now backed by proven strength. You drafted this before the conflict. Thyron observed. These are the same proposals we rejected. Yes, Nancy agreed. We didn't want war. We still don't. But sometimes, students only listen after the teacher demonstrates why the lesson matters. Old Ambassador Rex of the ancient Silurian Confederacy spoke for the first time in decades. You fought a war to force us to accept peace. Do you realize how insane that sounds? Nancy laughed. A genuine, warm sound that surprised everyone. Completely insane. But sometimes sanity means accepting insane solutions. We're a paradox, a warrior species that hates war, killers who chose mercy, destroyers who prefer to build. We're asking you to be paradoxes too. Be strong enough to choose peace. The vote was called. One by one, species that had once dismissed humanity as primitive raised their appendages, tentacles, or energy fields in approval. The new charter passed unanimously. As the session ended, Nancy noticed Vextar approaching. The Zephyrian's posture showed none of his predecessor's arrogance. Ambassador, he clicked carefully, I must ask, if we had accepted your original proposals, would you have kept your true strength hidden? Nancy nodded. Forever, if possible. We didn't build those weapons to use them. We built them hoping we'd never need to. That's what you never understood. True strength isn't in the weapons you display. It's in the weapons you choose not to use. The Zephyrian considered this. We have much to learn from humanity. And we from you, Nancy replied. That's what equality means. Teachers and students, changing roles as needed. As she left the chamber, Nancy felt hope. The galaxy was still dangerous. Trust would take time to build. But for the first time in 40 years, humanity had what it always wanted. Not conquest, not dominion, just respect. 20 years passed. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Where fear once ruled, cooperation grew. Where mistrust festered, understanding bloomed. Dr. Alan Foster sat in his office at the Galactic History Institute on New Geneva, a planet jointly colonized by 12 species. His job was to document how the brief human conflict had reshaped galactic civilization. Professor Foster, his assistant, a young prism called Shine, entered the room. Your interview subjects have arrived. Alan smiled. Today he would speak with veterans from all sides of the conflict, living history that would help future generations understand what had happened. The first to enter was former Supreme Commander Vextar. the original Zephyrian who had mocked humanity. His shell had dulled with age, but his eyes were bright with new wisdom. "Commander," Alan greeted him, "thank you for agreeing to this interview." Vextar settled into a specially designed chair. "The young must learn from our mistakes. My pride nearly destroyed my people. Humans taught us humility." "How do you view humans now?" Alan asked. The old Zephyrian clicked thoughtfully. "We thought they were weak because they sought peace. We didn't understand they sought peace because they knew war too well. They are the wisest species we've encountered." Next came Admiral John Harper, now retired. His hair was white, his face lined, but his eyes remained sharp. "Admiral, what was the hardest part of the conflict for you?" Harper leaned back, holding back. Every human commander knew we could end the war in days with full force. But that would have made us conquerors, not teachers. Restraint was our greatest weapon. Later, Alan interviewed a Kranathi warrior named Grosk who had fought in the border skirmishes. "The humans confused us," Grosk grumbled. "They fixed our damaged ships. They treated prisoners like guests. They fought with honor we didn't expect from primitives. It shamed us into peace." As the day continued, Alan spoke with traders, diplomats, scientists. Each told the same story from different angles. Humanity had shattered expectations not through brutality, but through controlled strength and unexpected mercy. That evening, Alan visited a local school where mixed-species classes were now common. He watched human children play with Zephyrian younglings, their laughter indistinguishable. The teacher, Sandra Murphy, had moved from Earth to help establish integrated education. She gathered her students for story time. "Today, we'll talk about why we choose kindness," she began. "Long ago, humans learned that being strong doesn't mean being mean." "Can anyone tell me why?" A small ethereal child pulsed. "Because real strength is helping others." "That's right," Sandra smiled. "Humans once hurt each other badly. We learned that winning fights isn't as important as making friends. When the galaxy pushed us, we had to show our strength, but we did it carefully." A Zephyrian youngling clicked. "My grandfather says humans scared everyone by being nice during the war." Sandra nodded. "Sometimes being nice when others expect meanness is the most powerful thing you can do." After class, Alan asked Sandra about teaching this difficult history. "We don't glorify the conflict," she explained. "We teach it as a cautionary tale. How fear and misunderstanding almost led to disaster. How strength without wisdom is dangerous. How mercy can be more powerful than weapons." That night, Alan watched the stars from his balcony. Human ships now traveled freely between systems. The ghost fleets remained hidden but ready. The galaxy was at peace, but it was a peace built on respect, not fear. In Earth's museums, the weapons of the conflict were displayed next to images of the thriving galactic community. Quantum torpedoes sat beside trade agreements. Ghost ship plans hung near pictures of mixed-species colonies. The plaques all carried the same message. We keep these to remember what we're capable of, so we can choose to be better. Alan finished his day's notes with a quote from Ambassador Nancy Williams. "The galaxy learned humanity's greatest secret. We are not naturally peaceful. We choose peace every day, despite our nature. That's not weakness. That's the ultimate strength." Outside, ships from 100 worlds passed peacefully through human space. Trade flourished. Knowledge was shared. The stars were explored together. The violent children had become wise teachers. The dismissed primitives had become respected equals. The galaxy had learned its most important lesson: never mistake gentleness for weakness, especially from those who have mastered both war and peace. Humanity had finally found its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through the hardest victory of all, winning respect by showing others what they truly were, a species that chose light despite knowing darkness.